Good afternoon, everyone. Another day, another pair of Ditton 44s. We love them, don't we? Yeah, this is the 8th pair I've had in 2 years now, and on top of that, I've recently done my 12th pair of crossovers rebuilds. So that makes about 20 crossovers in total. So yeah, a guy has dropped these off for refurbishment. Cosmetically, they're lovely. The chap he bought them from has cleaned up the drivers. Rubbers are nice and supple. The cones are good. They've been painted in silver around the edge to tidy them up, which looks good. You can see that it's been painted, but you know, they're nice and tidy. Both of the cabinets are really good. So the veneer has been sanded back and re-oiled, and yeah, they are cosmetically lovely. The covers are good. The cloth isn't, so we need to recloth them, and not on this one, but on this one the chipboard is starting to give way at the side there, which is very common because this is really thin. It's only chipboard, and often when you pull them off you end up snapping this. So what I would do is I'm going to recloth them, and the cloth sits in a little rebate around the edge, is I will frame it in batten like this afterwards. So I'll paint that black and glue it on, so that will reinforce this, knock off these blocks, and then refit these pegs back on. So yeah, it reinforces it and doesn't space it out any further. So, a number of issues with these. Whilst they look lovely, the tweeters have been painted, and this one has definitely been redomed. The lead wires are the wrong size. In fact, I'll bring you in and you can have a close look. Okay, so yeah, this has had the dome replaced, and it is just full of glue all the way around. And I can see that it's sitting at a funny angle, and the lead wires are teeny tiny. So it's been redomed with a non-original part. We're also missing the mesh cover, which helps with dispersion. So it's fairly crucial that that's there. Certainly helps with the off axis. When I've measured these before, with and without, there is a difference. They do need those. So they're obviously available from time to time second hand. Falcon Acoustics, I think, do a replacement, but it's quite expensive. So in the past I've stamped my own. Obviously they're not as good, but might help. But with this speaker here, we've really got no output from this. We really drop off as the mid-range rolls off. We don't see the tweeter come in, and I don't see any phase angle change either, which suggests that this just isn't outputting at all, or if it is, it's seriously low. What else did I make a note of when I measured them? The upper range of the woofer and the lower range of the mid seems really humped up, and when I look at the spectral decay I can see an awful lot of ringing, and what I'm suspecting is that when I push in the woofer, the mid-range is pushing out, and that shouldn't happen because this is in its own enclosure, and where the wires go through the tube into the enclosure, if they're not sealed, then obviously the air from the base chamber can affect the air behind the mid-range. So as this is pushing in, it's pushing the mid out, and as it's pulling out, it will suck the mid in. So that's going to cause some cancellation, phasing issue, muck up the mid-range as well. So they obviously need resealing. So I'm going to move you back. On this speaker we've got no output whatsoever. I get absolutely nothing from it at all. So hopefully that's just lead wires off the binding post that have broken off. But the client, when he was playing these, thought they sounded okay. Commented that the high frequency seemed to be quite low, which we've obviously, with our measurements, found an issue with that tweeter potentially. And then he said all of a sudden all the bass disappeared. So not too sure what's going on there, but this one has stopped working altogether. So hopefully it's something simple, and then I can measure it, but we've still got the same problem with the mid, pushing the cone in. This is moving out a lot. It shouldn't be doing that. So we'll have a look inside and see. And there's one other thing I want to make note of. Right, so if you have a pair of these, you'll probably find the original binding posts on there are teeny tiny little things. They're horrible. And if you take them off, you'll find that between the metal back of the binding post, there is a Paxilin washer. And that's really important because this badge, here's one I've got off another speaker, is metal. It's lacquered, and that's the only thing that will insulate this metal electrically. So if you don't put those Paxilin spacers in there, when the new binding posts are tightened down, they can pinch through that lacquer and you'll create a short circuit across the two. I've seen that happen. Hopefully your amplifier has short circuit protection and will trip out before any damage is done, but a lot of people don't realise that when they take these off and wonder why the speaker isn't outputting anything, because they've got a short circuit. We don't have a short circuit here, we've just got no output, so, but I thought I'd mention that. Right, let's dig into the one that isn't working and have ourselves a look. So the guy has really cosmetically tidied these up. The veneer is lovely. Probably one of the better pairs I've ever seen. You see these screws have been painted as well. So yeah, cosmetically made to look pretty, but they certainly aren't sounding pretty. Far from it. Right, so normally on the 44s you have soldered connections. Here we have push fit connections. And this, one of them, is really, really loose. To the extent the screw is actually just pulling out the thread. So that's really poor. Okay, I think we'll unscrew that carefully. Let's carefully put that over the mid. Yeah, you see how loose that is? Those crimps have just been pinched up with a pair of grips, I think. Nasty, nasty. So that's the wrong screw. So that's the right screw. That's the wrong screw, which I can just rattle through there. Just because they look pretty. Okay, woofer. Yeah, so as I thought, I'll bring you in a bit closer. Right, hopefully you can see that okay. As I thought, the cable going in through the mid-range cone, cardboard tube, sorry, completely unsealed. So air can easily get through that. So that is why when we're pushing on the woofer, we're pushing the mid out. So that will cause bass cancellation and issues with how our mid-range performs. Okay, so when the client thought he'd lost some base. That could have been that mega loose connection. So let's have a look at the crossover. Oh my god. Okay, that's why we don't have any output from the speaker at all. Okay, so negative and positive lead wires going onto the binding cups. That is just twisted round, completely loose. So that's why we've got no connection. We probably have from time to time, that'll make, but yep, that's the reason why. So looking at the crossover, we've got original components. We know how bad the 2 2s, which make a 4, and the 2 2s, which make a 6 on the tweeter circuit, how badly they go out of range, which can damage our tweeters, which might be the reason why we've seen these with new cones. We've got a 72 and a 72 L cap. These hold up reasonably well, but they want replacing. We have a 6, and then we have a 25 or a 24. Yeah, so we have a 25, sometimes a 24, and a 6 together. So that makes our 30, or 31 in this case. These go terribly out of tolerance. Iron core inductors, 2 on the woofer circuit, 4th order, and then we have 2nd order high pass and low pass on the mid, and a 3rd order on the tweeter. So all these caps will need replacing. The inductors are okay. We've got an air core in the main signal path. This is the shunt for the high pass, so not the end of the world, but these will all want replacing, and this wire with these rubbishy push fit connectors. Right, let's take this mid-range out. So I think we've found why it's not working. Simply loose connections. For all 3 drivers to stop working, it really had to be something like that. So that's not so bad. It's these tweeters that concern me. So I think I'll take them both out and individually near field test them. But yeah, the crossovers certainly want rebuilding. Right. Right, so that just fell off. That is pushed in there. We've got this thing soldered on there. That's not original. These would be soldered, not push fit connections. So I don't know what's been going on with these. Yeah, mid-range, nice and loose, good condition. So I will DC test these while they're out. So we'll take out this tweeter now, see what we find. So carefully move those across. So you can see where this has just been painted up. Alright, I'll probably have to take one of them out. So yeah, being able to measure these speakers properly is a massive advantage. Simply because otherwise you're going to be doing all of this by ear. And I don't know about you guys, but my hearing is not good enough to tell whether this is working properly or not. So yeah, being able to measure these properly, see where we have frequency, phase issues, spectral decay, stored energy issues, is pretty valuable really. Right. Oh man, just take them all out, Matt, come on. Right, what have we got here then? Okay, so we've got the original. Oh man, so we have the original wires on these, but on the crossover that's just been twisted round again, and the same on the black. So where the guy has removed these to restore the cabinets, He hasn't soldered any of these back. He's put crimps on them, although I can't say for sure that's him, or just wrap the wires back around the crossover posts. Yeah, nice to look at, but that's it. Right, so we'll clip these off because we're going to solder new wires onto these. So we've got our 3 drivers from this cabinet to test, and our crossovers to rebuild. So let's take the other one apart. We know why this one wasn't playing. Right, speaker number 2. Right. See that? Okay, okay, first things first. Let's take our woofer out. I've got a lot of interesting videos coming up, and they're all client videos. As I've mentioned before, 9 times out of 10 clients don't want me filming their speakers. I can kind of understand, because I think a lot of them get repaired and sold, and if these videos get watched, I don't know, maybe that's the reason. But yeah, I've got a lovely pair of LS36s here at the moment, which need fairly extensive work, so they're going to be pretty interesting to work on. I've measured them. I've just got so many videos to edit and put together. Okay, right, same thing here. Look at that, falling off. Don't want to come off. Come on. Right, well, we'll clip that off for the minute because we're ultimately going to solder that on. Right, so if you can see again, we have the wrong screw. So that's just swinging in the breeze. These crimps, push fits, have just been scrunched up with a pair of pliers. Terrible. This time our lead wires are soldered onto the binding posts okay. Tweeter twisted round again. Big gaping hole where the cables go through the mid-range enclosure. Yeah, again with the crossover we'll replace all the capacitors. So let's see what we find behind this. Again, mid-range is nice, supple surround, cone is good. This is the tweeter with the teeny tiny lead wires. Right, mid-range. So again, we've got push fit connectors. These have kind of been soldered this time as well as pushed on, but you can see how chewed up the wire is. Right, so we'll just clip them off because, like I say, ultimately we're going to be replacing the wire with new and soldering these on. So there's our other mid-range. So we have the cardboard tube in these, in the Mark IIs, which is better because it locks the front baffle and the back baffle. Otherwise the back baffle is a really big panel that just rings, and we have a centre brace here which often comes loose, bracing the 2 sides, but that's all together as well. So we'll take our tweeter out. So normally you'd see some nice tags here to solder the wires to, but these have been completely cut back. So I think we're going to probably be looking for a pair of tweeters. Yeah. So I don't know what's going on there. Loose as anything. These aren't original. Loose as anything. You see how, if if you can get the profile of that, how lumped up that is with glue. Yeah, that ain't particularly clever. That wire isn't original. Having a striped black, striped red isn't original. But yeah, again, just twisted around the crossover. Right, so crossover rebuild on both. Solder connections. Let's test the drivers and then we will near field test these. Okay, hopefully you can see that okay. So this is the T1600, which I think are 4 ohm from memory. Nice. .3, that's good. Let's check this one. .7. .7, so a little different. Okay, mid-range. .2, yep. .5, okay. Right, tweeters. 8.3. There is output from that, I can hear it. And this one, I'll have to cut these back a little bit. Yep, output from that. 4.6. .3. I've seen 8 ohm and 4 ohm versions. Most of them are 4 ohm. I'm inclined to say that that, with the diaphragm that's been replaced, is wrong. Okay, so it looks like we are rebuilding that one as well. Right, I'll near field test these and I'll put the measurements up. I'll also put the speaker measurements up if I didn't earlier in the video. And yeah, then we'll go from there. Thanks for watching.